Okay, hi, my name is Riley Combs, and for my media industry issue analysis, I decided to cover diversity in media. This is definitely something that is very prevalent throughout the years. We do get the chance to learn about it more within our courses. That's pretty much why I chose it, is because something that is always around that I'm interested in learning more about, and something that I've always wanted to resurface and keep in the forefront of my mind, that it is something that's really important in the industry that we're in. So more about diversity in media, definitely having the diversity and inclusion aspects in the media industry is few and far between. Hollywood always is going to progress with their usual underrepresentation of different genders, races, ethnicities, religions, the LGBT community, as well as people with disabilities. We continue to see them being misrepresented or underrepresented in the media industry. So the same standards usually are like the crowds of, the people we see on screen are the people we always see on screen. They're on the forefront of the media industry, whether it be actors, actresses, screenwriters, news reporters, directors, musicians, any talent. They all face the same of not being prevalent in the media industry if you come from a diverse background. So going further into that, an example of the gender diversification, excluding that in the media industry, there's definitely a lack of female talent. We see that all the time, through films and TV series. So including on screen as well as behind the camera. So not only those being shown, but those behind the camera and in the production studio and crew, definitely misrepresented there as well. There was a TED Talk that I also got to listen to for another class that was perfect for this topic. It was from Professor Stacy Smith. She actually, her and her team did a study over 100 films in 2015. So she investigated each of the films for speaking characters, like on-screen characters, and they said the results were depressing. And if you look at them, they are very substantially upsetting versus what you would expect. Over 100 top films in that year. So the results show that 48 of them had no African American females, 78 had no Asian or Asian American females, 84 of them did not have any females with disabilities, and then 93 of them had no representation of the LGBT community at all throughout there. So that is just showing over 100 films were reviewed, and that's what the results were. It's kind of in that point, you're kind of okay, really? But also, it's Hollywood, we're not super shocked. So continuing with the issues in media. So going from that, it's definitely determined that the issue is much longer than just diversity issues taking place in Hollywood. It's considered an inclusion crisis by many. Many articles I found did consider it as extinction within these underrepresented communities, as well as being a crisis of inclusion. So I read an article from Hollywood Reporter, and Shonda Rhimes, if you know her, love her. She's producer, director of many things. She talked about how, these executives should be working towards these inclusive castings, because she said it's just basic economics, with having a cast that in a film that is more inclusive, you're bound to make more money at the box office, and then having a TV show with the diverse characters is going to receive higher ratings, more views. So with that, she's just hello, executives, let's look at it and see what the bigger picture is. You're going to see that these films and TV shows are performing better, and they're going to realize they're making more money, which should make the decision easier for them to include diverse characters, or what we would think. So then these are kind of the impacts that it has on the social economy as well as the media economy. So definitely with the lack of diversity, we're not getting to see diverse structures of society, different backgrounds, and we're ultimately going to be fueling that misrepresentation of those communities in the media outlets. So diversity in our media matters most because we're able to see those crowds in underrepresented communities, see their background and their forefront, and then also it gives the voice to them. If not, they would be voiceless. I also saw where 40% of the US population identifies as being non-white and females, So that's almost half of the United States population, yet we still see the media being dominated by white males, which is just how we know it to be. And it's, we would love for that to be shocking statistic, but whereas we're just kind of used to it, which it's not something that we should just be like okay with, like staying the same with that same rate. Continuing with that, with the exclusion of the diverse communities, it also limits those perspectives and those qualities in people that can be brought forth and change the media society. So bringing in all those different realms, walks of life, background, things like that. Everyone has a story to tell, and I feel like that is something that's the most important with they're excluding those things from it. So it just goes to say that those people aren't getting their voice. Back to saying how they would be voiceless without it. So then some examples, like in news, there's a lot of homogenized story choices or press releases, news updates. They can be very molded to the same. So with that funneling into that closed-minded media and shooting it towards a certain demographic, it can have a negative mindset towards particular media outlets from those individuals who are from outcast backgrounds and seen as outcast. And then that in turn is just going to bring overall harm to that media company. They're going to be giving those reports in a certain way that doesn't include diverse communities, and then therefore it does go back to hurt themselves and their reputation. And then if and when communities do start beginning to distrust different media platforms, the media is just going to come back and combat it with negative stereotypes of those communities. So it's a lose-lose situation for everyone. And then in production, the same casting is used for the same demographic, and then executive and director chairs are dominated by men. Continuing with that, the biggest economic issue we're going to expect to come from the lack of diversity is how culture impacted we are as an audience, and the shifts and ties in our minds that are created while absorbing the media. So things we watch, they sculpt our minds, they make us think, and without the different views and the different castings, we're not going to be just strictly seen to one side of everything, and it just kind of limits our learning. So with the diversity being nowhere to be found, it's hurting everyone. So we're not exposed to different cultures and backgrounds, and so with that, it could also go as far as hurting your career. If you're not exposed to these kind of things, when you get into the real world, it can be a wake-up call because you're not used to these different settings, and like I said, it's hurting everyone again, not just those people who are underrepresented, but then the audience. They're not getting to see those people have that voice and have that chance. Going for a lighter note into that, we do get to see, even with all of these issues faced, there are so many celebratory moments that have been occurring in the homogenous Hollywood world. For example, the film Black Panther, it came out in 2018, and when it did, it was defined as a game changer. It simply destroyed decades of assumptions for movies with minority lead characters. It actually grossed a total of $1.34 billion domestically and globally with those two combined. So it was definitely a game changer. It showed that, diverse and minority lead characters can make money too. So maybe that lit a light bulb up in some directors' minds as well. In that same article with that information from Variety, it talks about how with this groundbreaking data, you think it would urge executives to try to break that stereotypical cycle, just because those connections among all content creators and aspiring people can be made so much stronger, and the overall growth from not only revenue but within the society could be extraneous for everyone. And then lastly, just to recap on it, we know media industry is homogenous, and diversity is hard to come by with not even just one type but all areas of talent within individuals of different races, genders, ethnicities, religions, disabilities. All of those are being underrepresented in the media world. And without diversity, we do become closed-minded. And then we know that strides are being made, and many people have been speaking up, such as Shonda Rhimes, many articles, and many people in the industry are speaking up, and groundbreaking movies are being released. So we're only moving forward at this point, so we can hope that it continues to go up from there, and always, keep an open mind when going into the media world, and instead of going backwards. So we always want to move forward.